peeps, geeks, and freaks. Welcome to Rex and Rex. I'm Mistress Gray, and this is my husband. You can call him Mr. Gray, but he goes by SithScott. Here we talk about whatever geeky thing we want to, whether it be recommendations or good things or terrible things. That was an intro. I don't know how to intro. SithScott, do an intro.
Where did this Mr. Gray come from? I don't remember agreeing to this. Anyways, welcome, and we are going to be doing a great discussion today. Today's discussion will be upon WandaVision. And we're going to try to discuss the whole series as much as we can. This will be very fun. And if you don't like anything about WandaVision in the first 3 episodes, that's okay. We're going to try to deal with your criticisms, but mostly we're just going to talk about the series because we liked it.
I honestly thought the series was a lot of fun. But as much as I think it's great, I will admit it's kind of hard on anyone who is not familiar with the MCU movies, because they kind of just throw you into this mystery. So, yeah, since it's a mystery for everyone, I guess it kind of works, but it also feels just kind of odd here's the show aimed at general audiences, but you have to be a previous fan to get on board. But, what did you think about that?
I both agree and disagree with that point. I think those of you who are not entirely invested in the MCU but understand what's going on will enjoy it. If you are some of those people who just desperately hate the MCU because everything's so formulaic and everything just makes super sense because, I don't know, I hear lots of people talk about that, then you might actually think of this as like a breath of fresh air, because this is a lot different in terms of its tone and what it deals with.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. This does feel very different than a lot of MCU movies. But I'm still one of those people that would argue that MCU movies do not all feel the same. Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy have very different feels, but that's my little whiny piece. For the most part, I do think I'd recommend it if you're just curious and want to get into it. But I'll admit, it has an ending that's a bit divisive. So if you're someone who strongly believes in punishment and justice, this ending might not satisfy you. Is there anything else that people who haven't seen it should know about?
Some of the episodes may not make sense to you because they're more homages to, I guess, specific genres of sitcoms. You have the decades of various shows and sitcoms, and if you aren't really a big fan of those, you may not understand what's going on, or you may just think something is extremely cheesy. But just note that they also play their own role, and they make sense, especially when everything comes together in the end.
Okay, now that we've got the general stuff out of the way, I guess we'll go into spoiler territory. Sorry, people who wanted more general stuff, we ain't that great at it yet. We're learning. Well, let's go to the next part. Okay, we're probably just going to be a bit more casual with this. It's not going to be a super scripted review or very note-driven. We're just kind of recording because we really enjoyed the series and we want to talk about it. I had so much fun with this series for all its good and bad flaws. You want to start us off, SithScott, since you had so many feelings on this show?
I would love to. So, I guess the first thing that comes to mind when we're discussing this is just the overall tone of this show. There's a lot that this takes into effect. Wanda has been through a crap ton of crap. And this is just basically her way of dealing with this grief. This entire season of this series is just her trying to deal with the grief that she's had of losing Vision, losing her brother, losing the rest of her family, being kind of tortured by Hydra, kind of not. And you get to see how that affects this person's psyche. We get to see basically a superhero going into a full-on trauma crisis, which for the most part you don't get to see, because we get to see heroes as generally like these beacons of hope with a little bit of downtrodden from having to be the ones who bear the world's burdens on their shoulders, where you get to see sometimes the cracks appearing, but we don't get to see the full-on vulnerability that comes when they just full on give in to their grief and trauma and just basically do whatever they want to feel at peace, even if it means bringing hurt and pain to everyone else around them. And it gets a little dark because of that when you realize just how much is manipulated because of just her grief and trauma. And even when they do get some of their senses back, they still have to feel Wanda's grief inside them.
I love the fact that we said we were going to do like an overview of the show and you just basically skipped to the ending and the meat of it. Like, I love you, babe, but you're just skipping directly to the part you want to talk about. Forget the middle.
Yes, forget all of that.
Why am I down here? What button did I press? Okay, good, I'm standing again. I need to learn my hotkeys. Someone teach me. Okay. But responding to what SithScott said, yeah, Wanda is wrong hotkey. Wanda's having a terrible time. And she doesn't really know how to process that. And this is her way of trying to process that, and it's a terrible method. Like, this is a terrible method. And I've seen a lot of people upset that she isn't punished at it, because at the end, she undoes all the damage she caused. But it means killing her husband and children. And people are upset that she didn't get more punished, like she kind of just flew off to go learn more about magic. And yeah, I kind of get that because like the American system has agreed to jails and incarceration as the way we handle people who have done harm. But I'm not entirely sure how okay, like personally I'm more on redemptive justice and restorative justice and focus more on healing rather than doling out punishments. But at the same time, this is the system we've agreed to, and the fact that Wanda just zips out is kind of terrible. But I'm not sure I would have been happy with her just going to jail because, well, this happened because she didn't know how to control her powers when she was super upset. So the best way for her to, stop this from happening again is probably to, learn more about those powers and all that jazz. And I don't think in prison they would appreciate her looking at a super magical book. But it does get my goat that she doesn't even apologize to the people. Okay, she does apologize, but it doesn't feel like a full apology. Like, she rapidly says, I'm sorry to them in a few scenes, I believe. But I wanted her to give it, like, a much more calm, I hurt you. I want to try to make it right. And then they could say, and then all the people could just say, get out of here. Also, I'm not entirely sure how responsible Wanda should be held for this, because, like, we don't really have a 1-to-1 ratio for this in real life. Like, who feels so much grief that they accidentally kidnap a bunch of people and force them to experience the same grief? Like, if you kidnap people in real life, you are going to be doing it knowingly. It kind of reminds me of the Frozen situation of how much do we blame Elsa for her whole depression snowstorm? Because, like, she didn't mean to do it, and once she learned of it, she didn't really seem to be trying to undo it, kind of like Wanda didn't want to undo it, though I feel a little more sympathetic towards Elsa because Elsa generally seemed to want to undo it. Wanda just kept digging that hole deeper once she realized the truth of what she had accidentally done. Like, she was like, dig that tunnel. But, yeah, that's how I felt about the ending. Like, I kind of wish we hadn't had that line of Monica saying, they'll never know what you sacrificed for them. Like, I get the sentiment. I get that Wanda did give up a lot by giving up her husband and children and basically killing them in order to undo the harm she's caused. But, like, it feels kind of celebratory rather than you did it, you gotta fix it. Like, there's gotta be a better way of acknowledging what Wanda did to fix her mistake without making it seem like she's super duper great, y'all. She caused no problems. Like, that was just a badly written line in my opinion. And I don't mind Wanda going off to learn so she doesn't cause this problem again, but I really wish she had at least had a full apology to the people, and then they could have been like, I don't care about your apology. Get out of my house. Get. Okay. Your turn, babe. Sorry, I had my rant.
That's okay. You can go on your rants. But I do appreciate at least of that interaction of having Wanda talking about that. Even if they don't know what she had to give up, they still wouldn't change the fact of how they feel about her because of all the damage she already did. That wouldn't have necessarily erased the damage she did to them, even if it did show of how much more grief she had to put herself through in order to help residue the effects of the grief that she was already having. But I think that also comes to a lot of the situation that Wanda has a lot of trauma she has to deal with. It comes with her parents being killed by the Stark bomb that was done basically in a war. And then you have a bunch of Hydra mind manipulating them to basically being the only ones who survived an experiment. Who knows how that else could have gone if they actually had people that they knew who were also in that experiment. As I imagine that they didn't have a whole lot of space to give everyone their own individual cell. Just by the end of it, there's only 2 left. Her and Pietro.
Oh my gosh, I've got some feelings on that. They had an opportunity to retcon the Hydra thing and they didn't take it. They did not take it. Like, I swear they could have just said something along the lines of, we didn't realize they were full Hydra. But instead they say, Wanda just says, we wanted to change the world. Frick you, Wanda, you joined the Nazis! Oh, speaking of Nazis, I'm gonna talk about the racism aspect of the show randomly. Look, I feel like this is the best segue I'm gonna get.
Nazis, racism.
The segues are not my strong suit. Okay, but okay. Wanda is Romani and Jewish in the comics. It's been retconned a few times and gone back and forth a few times, because they can't make up their mind on who her parents are. Sometimes it's the Wizard. Yes, that's an actual character. Sometimes it's Magneto. Sometimes it's undecided. But, for the most part, they've been Jewish and Romani the longest from what I understand. And so, when they cast her in the MCU, they totally whitewashed her. And the show doesn't try to fix this at all. There's no full way to totally fix it, other than, recasting the actress, but they're not going to do that at this point. Not unless Wanda's actress gets into some big scandal. But they could have at least done, soft reboot to show that she is Jewish or something. But no. They're very European whiteness, which I'll admit is not exactly the most specific thing. Because European whiteness is a bit different from American whiteness. But back to my rant. They, don't even do that soft reboot of making her at least Jewish. And also, eek, making the Romani character a superhero costume be a Sokovian fortune teller. That's got a little eek. In case you don't know, there's this whole stereotype of Romani people being fortune tellers. I'll try to put some links in the description. She had a freaking crown. You could have said she was a Sokovian princess or something. You didn't need to make it a fortune teller. Also, I think the actress has used the G slur, and I'll probably put a link in the description to explain what I mean by that. But apparently she's used that slur a few times and has been corrected. Or at least that's what I've heard. I haven't actually fully dug into it. In which case, eek on the actress. Eek, eek, eek. Okay, I'm done on my racism rant that I'm sure will be totally YouTube friendly and people will totally love in the comments, right? This is what you came for. Totally.
I mean, I came here to talk more about WandaVision than the racism that it entailed, but okay. Though, can we also just agree that the best some of the best dialogue in this series was because of Vision? Everything that he says is like a gold mine of information, and it just makes me feel a lot more invested into him being a part of the Mind Stone of someone who can have literally the right thing to say at just the right time. And honestly, I feel like he was more like a voice of reason here than he has been in any of the MCU movies. And I think that's more of a credit to the writing of the series than it is to Vision in the MCU. Because they have to deal with a lot of random characters in the MCU, whereas here it was just Wanda and Vision they basically had to focus on. And boy, did they do it really well done.
Like, oh my gosh, he was the closest we've had to like a theatrical Superman in a while. And yes, I'm stealing that from Professor Thorgy. In case there's any crossover between our audiences, which I doubt. But like, that is so true. Or at least I think that he said that. Though it might have been in his comment section. Whatever. I can't remember anything. But like, Vision was so good. Like, he's so heroic. So wanting to do the right thing. Even from his inception in the MCU. And gosh, I miss superheroes that were just purely heroic. Like, I mean, yeah, the MCU heroes are pretty heroic. But they also tend to be a little more grounded and flawed. Cough, cough, Tony Stark, Shutterface, roar crimes, cough, cough. But, yeah, they tend to be much more grounded. And I guess we do have Wonder Woman, but that sequel kind of took her down a peg. And so it's just really great with Vision. And he was so much fun to watch. And his actor imbued such a life into him. And that debate between him and White Vision on the ship of Theseus of, are we both Vision? Is one of us Vision? Is just like, my heart. Also, this is not the first time I heard that metaphor. I got it from a children's book. So there, I've learned something that the general audience didn't know before this. Or at least I hope they didn't, because otherwise that means everyone else knew it and I had to learn it from a children's book. But suck it, I knew it from the Alcatraz series. But like, yes, that debate was so well written, but nothing can really compare to the Vision's line of, what is grief but love persevering? Like, honestly, that line tops everything out of the water. Like, he was just so well acted. Though I do kind of wish he had been more of a daddy to his kids, because we mainly just saw Wanda with him. But if he had been a little more involved with them, and been more of their daddy, and I think it would have really impacted the death scene a lot more. Because, like, we were more sad for Vision dying than the kids. Because, like, the kids were just kind of stock kid characters that we cared more about because Wanda cared. But, so good. Didn't care about the kids that much, though.
I mean, he cared so much about their first Halloween that he totally just ditched them. Vision probably wasn't the best father figure, but he was there because he was trying to be a good hero, because he wanted to save the town more so than just acting out Wanda's life vision of having a good Halloween for their kids. He left that to the kind of fake Pietro brother thing. Which, that was a downer. But at the same time, I wonder if there's more to the story that we don't know about how Evan Peters' character comes out. Because I just want to know how everything happened there, because I don't think that his actual name is Boner. I really don't. I really don't.
Okay, I'm stealing this from a comment that I read. Sorry, I can't track you down. I saw it casually. But, like, they said it would have been funnier if his real name had been Evan Peters, and I'm so, like, yes. Pietro should have been Evan Peters in the MCU universe. That would have been perfect. What do you think, Sith?
Yes, that would at least make it a fun joke that perhaps could have still led to, I guess, him being Quicksilver if need be, or because he's not, because Agatha basically told us that he wasn't just some random person she took. That was Oh, that was a cringe.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people upset about that, but I don't think it's entirely the people behind the show's fault because, like, okay, maybe I haven't just been paying enough attention. As far as I know, they would just said it was a really exciting cameo, and people took that and did all sorts of wild theories of how he could be from the Fox Fox characters and Fox characters. I should say Fox X. What am I talking about? But like how he could be from another alternate dimension, how he could be a clone or whatever. And I just feel like we've been so trained to do fan theories that we kind of took it too far and were inevitably disappointed. But at the same time, I do think that it was a little crummy that they took a fan favorite actor and a fan favorite character and then just turned it into a boner joke. Like, I thought it was pretty funny in the moment, but it's also kind of crummy. Like, they could have at least made it Evan Peters. That would have at least been funny and a bit more satisfying.
Another thing that just came to my mind, though, is what's going to happen when, say, the X-Men universe does cross over, so apparently in the, like, multiverse happens during the Doctor Strange movie, and actual Quicksilver from there comes. Is she just going to think that he's a liar, or is there going to be some kind of recognition between the two, or is she just going to go on as if it's a completely different person without recognizing that it could have been looked the same as the person from WandaVision?
Don't make me go cross-eyed, please. No, don't. I don't need this. Spider-Verse handled multiverse perfectly. I don't need to think about all the weird permutations of multiverse now.
I'm just saying that if we do get the Fox universe that does mesh, or not, then that means that we would see another Quicksilver moment. And that would mean that Wanda would have to see him eventually. Or are they just going to do the weird, always going to be off screen whenever the other one's on screen, so they don't actually meet?
Okay, let's be fair. That would be hilarious. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Though, there's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, we should probably talk about how great the sitcom recreations were. Like, I was able to pinpoint like almost every one of them. Like, I'm not even that much of a sitcom aficionado, though I apparently like them more than a lot of reviewers. Weird, but whatever. Like, I was able to pinpoint them so well because of how well they did the detail. Like, the backgrounds, the music, the way the effects looked. And I was always sad when the sitcom were... Well, I don't think I was necessarily sad, but I was more invested in the town and the sitcom worlds than the sword stuff. Like, I mean, I enjoyed the dynamic of the characters, but I didn't necessarily care what they were doing.
I mean, let's be honest, the only reason we cared anything about the sword characters was because Jimmy Woo was there. And Darcy had a few cameos there. But Jimmy Woo was one of the best reasons to go back to the sword stuff. Because everything else just felt kind of eh. There wasn't a whole lot more that we cared about in Sword because there's so much more life and energy going on during the sitcom parts than there were the Sword parts, probably because they felt more like they were tacked on to make an explanation about why this was happening, more so than actually being a reason why this was happening.
Yeah, that feels fair, though. It was hilarious when Darcy was just watching it like it was an actual show. That was... Yes, that made me happy.
It really did. And that she made everyone seem like they were idiots because they didn't know anything about microwavable energy and being able to see how that would affect the frequency of the television and where it was being broadcasted to. Which does make you wonder, does that mean Agatha was broadcasting all of the stuff that Wanda was doing in that kind of mode, or was it Wanda doing that just by herself automatically?
Does this mean Wanda's kind of a YouTube streamer in the sense that she was broadcasting her life, if that's the case?
I mean, I'm sure if someone wanted to be a YouTube star, why not? Just saying, Agatha could do it to get more money for the books that she's trying to get.
funny. Also, that Agatha song is hilarious, but it gets even funnier when you realize she only like started doing stuff after episode 3, I think. But it was Agatha all along from episode 3. It's a lot less catchy than it was Agatha all along. Pose time. Wait, better pose. Yes, it was me all along, Agatha.
I was just trying to do a pose and realized that that's just keying up to my eyes, so I was doing a pose of my eyes. Hopefully that's not too awkward. Anyways, WandaVision itself has a lot going for it as a series because it's so enjoyable and it is kind of really short. Every episode's about 20 minutes long, except for the finale, which is about 40 minutes long, so about double it. And every single episode is a real joy to watch. Even the recap episode where they made everything recap what was supposed to happen from there to what happened in WandaVision was still a really good recap. And it still had life in it, and it still was enjoyable to watch. I mean, it could have been because Agatha's actor is really good at just being energetic.
Okay, we gotta talk about how cool Monica was and Jimmy Woo and Darcy. Also, Darcy was ripped off in the finale. She drove a bus and then she was gone. What, did the actress want too much money for that? But gosh. I mean, at least Monica got a line in the finale, but yeah, it was kind of a bad line. But Jimmy at least had a decent send-off. Jimmy Woo had a decent send-off. Also, I really hope he becomes the James Bond character because he kind of is that in the comics. So having this kind of funny, everyday, average man being also James Bond would be hilarious. Though I can't decide if it would be funnier if everyone believed him or if everyone assumed he was super hyper competent. I mean, he is a competent character, but to an absurd degree, and he was I'm just a dude who's competent, not that great. But you did all this stuff. I mean, I did. It's hard. Sorry, tangent. I was going to talk about how awesome Monica was. That just shows how awesome all the characters can be. But it was really fun to see Monica. She's the daughter of the woman in Captain Marvel and the founder of S.W.O.R.D. Her mom founded S.W.O.R.D., not her. But, yeah. And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of cool to see her be fully formed in her own right, but become even more sure and powerful after her events in WandaVision. And I do like the fact that she reached out with empathy and compassion rather than guns a-blazing. Even if I do think the show could have handled that balance of you did wrong and but you also still deserve sympathy because you're still grieving. But you still got to fix this because now you're making it worse for everyone else. But so often we want to react to harm with causing more harm. But Monica was better than that. I mean, I said I would tweak some of her lines, but she was better than that. And I do like the fact that she acknowledged that she would try to bring back her mom. Because, I think a lot of us would try to bring back our loved ones. Consequences be damned. Only to realize, okay, maybe consequences don't be damned.
Just goes to show that we all need our own personal case of Dragon Balls so that we can get at least one wish a year in case someone we know who we care about dies. But going on to the Monica tirade, there is one thing that I was kind of unhappy about, and that was the fact that we didn't actually get to get the whole sit-down talk that Monica wanted to have with Wanda. The whole reason why she went to go see Wanda was so she could just have a big talk-it-out session. That's kind of how it's supposed to be going, until Agatha then ruined all that, and then their big talk-down session just turned into that one line that wasn't really even that much of a helpful line. Other than the fact that, yes, she would have done the same thing, but I feel like there needs to be more than just acknowledgement that, yes, other people would have these if they had your powers, but also we need to have more of just letting people grieve and let them grieve. It doesn't have to be necessarily an unhealthy way of grieving. You can just do a normal sit-down talk. Just let people talk to each other. Compassion and understanding is honestly all that it can take to just let that grief die down a little.
Unlike Hayward, who was like, "Bird, baby, bird." That I did not care about Hayward as a villain. He was just kind of boring. Like, yeah, he did do some things that instigated interesting things, like trying to manipulate Wanda into bringing back Vision. Because I'm totally sure he was trying to do that. But, like, he was just kind of boring on his own. Like, in the beginning, he was kind of fun playing off against Monica, but after that, he was your stock bad guy.
I just know I didn't like him after realizing that he pretty much just kept lying to people about everything. There's a good villain, I think, is one who won't lie, but will let people believe something that they want to believe by directing the phrases of what they want to do. He would just flat out lie about things. And I hated that, because he wasn't a good linguistic villain in the sense of him actually doing what needed to be done. He just was flat out lying to people and was expecting that to be normal. It just kind of annoyed me, because I was hoping that he was actually telling the truth about what Wanda did, about what his purposes were, but no, he wasn't. Not in the slightest, and it kind of annoyed me, just that aspect. Made me even the more angry about him as a villain, because it just made him even more of, as you put it, a stock villain.
Okay, that sounds like a you problem, but I will agree. Like, he wasn't a particularly clever villain. He was just your average politician. Tell the lies and only give enough evidence to support your lies. That was about what Haywood was. He wasn't much of anything else. But at least he gave us the reason for Darcy, Jimmy Woo, and Monica to interact. Like, that was not a trio I knew I needed, but it was pose-worthy. It was, yes, I loved it. That was the trio I wanted. And they never got proper trio resolution.
They really didn't. I'm just hoping that Monica gets Sword, and then we'll invite them two to join it. Because I'm sure Jimmy Woo would be a very good asset for it, and Darcy can be a very good asset for at least some of the intelligence side of things. And because she understands a lot of things thanks to Thor.
Yes, that would be very satisfying. But, that ending totally wasted that trio chemistry. And, oh yeah, the kid characters could have been more. What did you think of the kids, Scott?
Kids were really good. I guess they're good characters in the sense of playing off of Evan Peters. They did really good in that regard of, like, just mimicking and copying everything that their fake uncle believed in. And he was actually a fun uncle. But other than that, they were just your generic kids. Which, I mean, to be fair, for the sitcom world, that's pretty much what they needed to be. But if we wanted to bring them into the MCU, they need to be more than just that.
That's true, I guess. And, like, they were a little stock characters. Like, they were fun sometimes, such as, like you said, with fake Pietro. But I didn't care too much for them beyond that. Though I am excited to see how they might potentially bring them back, because Wanda does say, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mom." That implies they kind of existed before Wanda.
It definitely seemed like they knew how to use their powers from the get-go, so that would also make sense of how they knew that. And it definitely seemed that way, too, when, after the very end scene, when she's practicing her magic in the astral projection zone, that she heard their voices, and I don't think that's just something that would have happened if they were only from her own imagination.
So does this mean we could technically add child murder to Wanda's list of crimes?
If you count her bringing them to life with fake bodies, and then imbuing their consciousness in it, and then erasing the bodies but leaving the consciousness intact, maybe. I don't know what that classifies under, but that's essentially what happened.
I hope they don't bring everybody back, 'cause, like, they got Vision there, or at least the White Vision. White Vision. And so they could theoretically bring Vision back. But if they bring Vision back and they bring the kids back and Wanda's still there, what was the point of her sacrifice? Like, that would negate her trying to undo her wrongs done to the town.
Maybe it'd give her a reason to actually do something more to kind of help the town out a bit. Because I feel like there's probably a lot that they missed in those, 3 weeks they were in there? Or is it 6 weeks? I don't even know how many weeks that they were stuck at Westview. But I think that if that is utilized as a way for them to pay homage or to help, because, hey, Wanda still has the deed to the land there. She might not want to ever go back there again because of that, but if she ever did, she could try to do things to kind of reconcile feelings.
I don't know if there is a way to reconcile accidental kidnapping and forcing them to feel all the trauma and then purposefully keeping them trapped in there afterwards. Like, I mean, yeah, she didn't know she was torturing them. She honestly thought they were peaceful. But, like, I don't know if anyone want to reconcile with that. Or if they just want her out forever, never come back, don't do this again.
Guess she needs to get another deed to another land then. Shame, it's hard to find land nowadays. And after all the work Vision put into that, she just goes and messes it up. How sad.
Oh, gosh. I feel like we could talk about this show forever, because, like, there's so many little things that make it great. But there's also a few things that give me headaches. Because, like, you were talking about how Vision bought the land. When did he buy the land? Or am I getting too nitpicky wondering when he bought the land and when he and Wanda got married? Because, like, they got split up by Civil War. And, yeah, they were stealing moments with each other, but, like, when did he do that? When did they get married? And how legal is that?
I mean, technically, Vision still had to be part of the Accords, which means he technically had a legality of that kind of sense of being of existence. I guess it all depends, though, on how much that would matter to the government of how human is Vision, because he is sentient. But is this the same way that the DC treats Red Tornado sentience of your sentience doesn't matter because you're a machine?
Well, they were just taking him apart and didn't even give her anything to symbolically bury him, so I don't think he's that human counted by them? I'm not sure.
I don't know, I just think that'd be something interesting. Because I'm sure that they may treat it differently, but at the same time, he had to have signed the Sokovia Accords, and for that to have mattered, that means they would have had to acknowledge that he had some kind of agency or free will to write it down and to be a part of that kind of agency. Because there's Wanda who was not a part of the Accords because she kind of got kidnapped by Vision for it to work. And yeah, that was all awkward.
I don't remember the kidnapping part, but I'll take your word for it. But yeah, like, I don't know how this would count, because, like, if he was technically a legal person, then shouldn't his legal partner been able to bury at least something? Also, I have to wonder, would any of this have happened if he had at least given her, like, something to symbolically bury? Like, yeah, realistically, he couldn't hand over the body. Like, we all think, oh, he's evil for not doing that, but, like, if you don't want to hand over something that supervillains will go racing towards to utilize at the same time. So, like, he could have at least, I don't know, cleared out the head. Like, yeah, it's still vibranium, but it's a smaller portion of vibranium. What do you think?
I was thinking they just chopped off, like, the pinky finger. I mean, was there a lot of circuitry that mattered there? Or is there another place that didn't have that much matter to it? Because I don't know if it's very intricate of how they designed Vision originally with Jarvis and the Mind Stone and Ultron, because that was a fun mishmash.
I don't know, but yeah, WandaVision might not have happened if Haywood had at least given Wanda something to bury. That's So yeah, we can blame Wanda for WandaVision and Hayward. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I'm drawing a blank right now. Like, yes, I know I just said I could talk about the show forever, but there's so much and I don't know where to go next. Or are we good on wrapping up?
I mean, we can wrap up. I was just saying that. I was just wondering how you forgot that she was technically kidnapped when it had to be Hawkeye to come rescue her from Vision. And then it was only able to beat Vision because Wanda turned against him.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Also, as much as I enjoy Monica, should it not have been Hawkeye who tried to talk her down once they realized all this? Or is Hawkeye still in legal trouble for all the murder, stabby stab he did? You know, like, the government's not too happy with him, but you think they could have at least sent him in as a, can you talk her down and make her less mad at us, please? She kind of liked you.
I mean, with how good he was at avoiding everybody after Infinity War happened, I'm sure that was probably hard for them to get in contact with him. But I'm also sure he's probably with his family and doesn't care about anything right now because he had such a traumatic time losing them.
Yeah, I guess that checks out. Oh, crap. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about, but then I got the mic back from you and now I can't remember. I guess when I said casual, I meant forgetful. Oh. Trying to remember. Think, brain, think. It's the end of the video. Fine, I give up.
Oh, I was just gonna dance while you kept thinking about things to think about. Sorry, let me stop dancing for a second. Anyways, my big takeaway of this is WandaVision is a great watch. You'll have you lots of thinking about, and if you're invested in the MCU, it'll have you even more thinking about. And you'll be thinking about so much that you don't know what you want to be thinking about afterwards, apparently. But overall, yes, it is a good use of your time, because first off, it's short. You could say that's a bad thing or a good thing, but overall, it's a thing. It's a short series. It has a lot of heart-wrenching moments, lots of good reads, acting. Everything is very well done. And the homages they have are extremely well done, and they're very representative of the times that they're in. They have a lot of good moments and a lot of good TV shows and sitcoms that they took, well, parts and moments from. And if you're big into that, you'll probably realize where they got taken from or how they got done. Overall, though, this is a good use. WandaVision is great, and the ending is just not nearly as good as the rest of it.
Okay, I was dancing too, and I remembered the last two things I wanted to talk about, so undo that ending. Okay, I wanted to talk about that I did like Agatha as a character, but I wish she had been a little more gray, and I wanted to talk about what you think this show has to say about grief.
Grief is painful. Oh, you mean about Agatha? Okay, right. I think I was hoping too that she was more gray, because whenever I remember talking actually about this with friends, but Agatha in the books isn't necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. She's just kind of a character that's all in her own kind of world, dealing with magic and witches, and that's kind of how she's supposed to always be. But in this sense, it makes her feel like she was always going to be trying to get all the chaos magic. And it even looked like she's trying to use it, too. So it was definitely not just gray. She wasn't trying to save the world from the Scarlet Witch or anything like that. It seemed like she just wanted the power of the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed they made her basically all evil. But I do hope she comes back, because I still do like that whole Disney villain, I'm just evil to be evil, over the top dramaticness, because that is so much fun. But oh dear Lord, it's messed up that Wanda decided to trap her in her own mind by casting her in that role of the nosy neighbor. Like that, we just had a whole thing on how this is bad, Wanda. Don't do that to a person. Yeah, she's evil, but like, if you can do that kind of mind control, can't you just make her, forget how to do magic? Or do something to block her from doing it. Like, there's got to be some way of stopping her that isn't so creepy, unless they're trying to imply that Wanda is still not a good person, which might be what they're doing. But it was a little hard to tell, though I guess I don't want the show to totally hold my hand.
I mean, yeah. I don't know what else to say about that, except for that's exactly probably my thoughts about it. Wanda probably is more grayish than she used to be, and I think that's just fine. I don't think that every hero needs to be super beacon of hope kind of deal, and I think Wanda's a lot more personable because of that. If you had these kinds of powers, you'd totally be chaotic with them. At least I might have.
Yeah, also, yeah, that's fair. I might not be a perfect beacon of hope, even though I do like those characters and I wish we had a few more of them. But let's talk about what this show has to say about grief, because I think it does have something to say, unlike I've seen a few people say that the show doesn't have to say anything. I disagree, but at the same time, I'm not sure it has much to say about grief. Because to me, this show seems to be saying that rather that grief is something that needs to be dealt with, and that it's something that can be all-consuming and make us want to hide into our own stories or our own comforts. But that's not something we should do, because it hurts not only ourselves but other people as well. Which I think is somewhat fair, but I also think that's a little bit of a American way of viewing grief, because I've read a few different things, at least in my college courses, that suggested that in some cultures just avoiding grief is how they deal with it, but that might just be my own misinterpretation. But I don't think that talking about it is always what a person needs. And I'm not sure the show completely helped Wanda deal with her grief, rather than force her to try to move on.
And that's a wrap.
Okay, I guess we're done. Because I feel like I could probably analyze more about Wanda's grief and what this show has to say about grief. But that's where I'm at right now. I'm still trying to process everything. And this video is going to be almost an hour long or half an hour long. So I guess we should wrap it up. I really enjoyed the show. And this time it's a real wrap up.
Hey, I already gave you the wrap up. WandaVision's great.
Meh. We're ending. So if you liked the video, do all the YouTube clickety-click things. Give us a comment. Tell us how bad or good this rant was. Subscribe or don't subscribe. Just engage. Let us know what we can do to be better. Tell us what you thought of WandaVision. And have a great and safe rest of your day. Wave to the people, SithScott.
Have fun. You should watch WandaVision.
Bye.